So summertime is all about barbecue, and one of my favorites is barbecue chicken. Now I've had barbecue from all around the country, and my favorite barbecue has to be Memphis style. So that's what we're going to make today, Memphis style barbecue chicken. Let's fix it. So Memphis style barbecue is all about the dry rub. You make a paprika based dry rub, and then you let the meat marinate in that overnight. The next day you throw it on the grill, slow and low, heat it up to get the crust real nice, and then it should just come out super delicious. But the key is the dry rub. So the main ingredient in Memphis style dry rub is paprika. So you want to get yourself a good one. And I went online and got a sweet Spanish paprika that I really like, so that's what I use for this recipe. I'm going to start off with 3/8 of a cup or 6 tablespoons. So I think that the two best paprikas in the world are Spanish and Hungarian. But for this particular recipe, sweet Spanish paprika does it for me. No hate against Hungarian paprika, that's really nice too. Next is 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and I'm going to use a different spoon than I did with the paprika because I don't want my brown sugar to taste like paprika. Yeah, good call there, chef. You definitely want to be careful. Don't want to cross-contaminate your dry ingredients, especially brown sugar. It's kind of sticky and will grab onto anything. Okay, next is 1 tablespoon of black pepper, and I like to grind my black pepper fresh. It does take some effort though when you're doing a whole tablespoon, and I like to do that by weight. So this ramekin weighs 228 grams, and a tablespoon of black pepper weighs 7 grams. So I want to get 235 as my target weight. Yeah, I probably should use pre-ground black pepper here, but I don't know, maybe I'm just too much of an overachiever. You really feel a burn in the forearms after a while. Yeah, I'm just going to fast forward through this part. It took me a couple minutes to grind the pepper, but you don't need to watch all that. All right, that's perfect. So we'll go ahead and dump that in. So next we have 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. And 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. So notice when I take the teaspoon out of the jar, it's a rounded teaspoon, and I don't want that. I want a level teaspoon. So I'm going to get a knife and go ahead and level that out real quick. Cooking is often about attention to detail, and I want to make sure that the spices are evenly balanced in the dry rub, so I want to make sure I get a nice measurement here. Two teaspoons of celery seed. Two teaspoons of dry mustard or mustard powder. This dry mustard is surprisingly messy. It's very, very light and just sticky enough where it tends to get all over the place. Okay, now 2 teaspoons of salt. That's 1, 2. Now you need to decide how much heat you want. Now for a regular recipe, I like to put in a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. It's a perfect amount of little kick that everyone will enjoy. I don't think you'll find anyone that will complain it's too spicy. Yeah, cayenne pepper is the perfect starting point for this dry rub. It gives a little kick, but not too much. Then you have me. I like everything really spicy, so I'm also going to add a teaspoon of habanero powder. You want to be very careful handling this, by the way, it will make you sneeze if you get dust into the air.
Yeah, take it from me. If you get this habanero powder stirred up in the air, you're basically pepper spraying yourself. So just be very careful.
Now I'm gently going to stir this in. I'm going to be extra gentle because of the habanero powder. If you aren't using that, you can probably be a little more aggressive.
So I'm fast forwarding here, but I'm stirring super slow and trying not to kick any dust up in the air.
Okay, I'm already getting a sense of that habanero powder getting in the air a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a glove and just kind of break up the lumps of brown sugar with my hand.
Yeah, that actually worked out pretty good. I was able to get the lumps of brown sugar broken down and also not get any spice in my hands.
Okay, that's looking really good. Now let's get the chicken out. I have everything set up now to go ahead and put the dry rub on the chicken. I have my chicken, which is bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs. I think that's the juiciest, most flavorful chicken, so I like to use that. Then I have a small plate, I have my dry rub, and I also have a large plate. And I have scissors here as well that I'm going to use to cut off the extra skin on the chicken.
Yeah, put that other glove on. Who do you think you are, Michael Jackson?
So I'm going to go through and cut all the extra skin off the chicken first.
So they always leave an extra flap of skin on these, and you just need to slice it off. It just creates a mess when you're on the grill. Fast forwarding here, I'm just getting all the skin off first, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the dry rub.
So now I'm done with the chicken getting all trimmed up, and I'm replacing the glove on my right hand. I want it to be clean, no chicken, because that's going to handle the dry rub. And I don't want to cross-contaminate the dry rub with the chicken because I'm not going to use all the dry rub. And I don't want to have chicken bacteria in the dry rub when I store it in my pantry.
So I was able to get the glove started without using my left hand, and then I realized, uh-oh, what do? I can't get it on the rest of the way. So then I got my pinky underneath and pulled it on there.
So I'm going to apply the dry rub over the small plate. So basically you just sprinkle generously on both sides and then give it a little shake after to get any excess off from the chicken.
Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake.
Shake your chicken. Alright, that was terrible. But you gotta have some fun sometimes, right? So back to the task at hand. There's going to be dry rub on the small plate, and I like to use chicken to mop that up first, and then I'll put new dry rub on top of that. So I'm always trying to optimize the amount of dry rub I'm using here. This process does go pretty quickly when you have it set up this way. Just took me, I don't know, maybe a minute and a half or so to get all the chicken done.
All right, that chicken looks fantastic. I'm going to cover it and put it in the fridge overnight and grill it tomorrow. I do have some leftover dry rub here, and that's just nice to keep as an all-around seasoning. A little sprinkle on any meat you're cooking on the stove, or if you're grilling a steak, whatever. You just want to give something a little extra zip. This dry rub works perfect for that. So I'll wrap this up and see you tomorrow. So it's the next day. Let's take out the chicken and see how it looks.
So letting the chicken sit overnight, it just lets the dry rub flavors really just soak into the chicken.
So the chicken looks and smells great, ready to go on the grill. But before we go out there, I'm going to make a wet mop. Now a wet mop is used to keep meat moist when it's being cooked slowly at a low temperature. And mine is going to be made of white vinegar and yellow mustard and a little bit of liquid smoke. See, I don't have a smoker, but I still want the chicken to have a light smoky flavor, so that's how we're going to get there. Okay, so first I'll do the vinegar, about 3/8 of a cup. And we need 3 tablespoons of yellow mustard, and that's about 45 grams.
So you can see I busted out the scale again. That mustard is just so much easier to measure by weight because it's pretty messy.
Go ahead and mix that in. Now for the liquid smoke, the amount that you add if you're using it is going to depend on the type of liquid smoke you're using. Now for mine, I can add 2 or 3 teaspoons and it comes out really nice. Depending on your brand, it may be more or less concentrated, so you're going to have to taste it and see. And when you taste it, just take a really small taste because it's going to be very vinegary and strong. So just like dip your spoon a little bit just to get a sense of it. So I'm going to start off with 2 teaspoons.
So you want to pour very carefully. Liquid smoke is pretty thin and it'd be very easy to pour in too much.
Okay, now just a very small taste. I'm going to try adding another half a teaspoon. Ooh. Yeah, it's definitely a strong vinegary taste, but it does taste pretty well balanced. So this is everything needed for the grill. I have my chicken, of course, and I have my wet mop, and I have a basting brush to apply the wet mop, and I have some tongs for flipping the chicken around. Let's head outside and get grilling.
So this is really everything I needed for grilling. I got some spray canola oil, the wet mop, basting brush, meat thermometer, chicken, and tongs. So for my grill, I turned all the burners on to get all the grates nice and warm. But then I turned the heat off in the middle 3 burners, and there's one on the left, one on the right that are still on kind of a low temperature. And I did this so the chicken would not stick when I first put it on, but I want to use indirect heat when I cook the chicken. So that's why I have the 2 end burners on, and I'm not going to put the chicken over those burners. So I'm going to close the lid for about 15 or 20 minutes and then come back and apply the first layer of wet mop. Open the grill back up. You can see the chicken hasn't changed too much yet. Now it's time for the first layer of wet mop. As I'm applying the wet mop, I'm also listening to hear what happens when the liquid drips down in the grill. I'm not hearing any sizzling, which tells me that the grill is a little too cool, so I'm going to increase the temperature of the left and right burners so we can get the heat up just a little bit. You want the grill temperature inside to be around 275 degrees or so. Another 20 minutes or so, and I'm rotating the chicken just to get some nice grill marks on it. It has been about another 20 minutes. You can see the chicken's looking really good already, and I'm going to flip it over. And also I'm rearranging a little because the chickens that are in the left and the right rows are actually cooking a little faster than the middle row because they're closer to the side burners. So I'm just trying to move everything around, flip it over, rearrange, and then I'm going to apply a layer of wet mop to the other side of the chicken. And this is the skin side that I'm doing right now. It has been about another 20 minutes, and I'm going to be rotating the chicken to get the grill marks on this side now. So just turn them all about 45 degrees. And then I'm going to apply my second layer of wet mop. So it has been about another 20 minutes, and I'm using my meat thermometer to check the temperature. I'm trying to poke around a few different places, try to get near the bone but not hit the bone. And the internal temperature I'm looking for when it's done is going to be about 170 to 175 degrees. 165, you might still have some blood around the bone area. So I'm carefully checking each one, and I just want to see where we're at. So I'm getting temperatures in the 150s. And when it's starting to get close, what I like to do is I like to turn on the burners that are in the middle of the grill under the chicken and heat them up, and then that'll create a crust and a little bit of a char on the outside of the chicken. So I'm doing that right now. And I'm turning the chicken back over. I want to make sure I get a crust on the skin side first because that's the more forgiving side. And you can also notice that the drippings are starting to flame up right away, and that can be an issue when you're doing this method. I'm applying the second layer of wet mop to this side. So both sides of the chicken will have had 2 layers of wet mop applied. Now that I have turned the center burners on and I'm noticing some flame ups, I'm not going to close the grill anymore because I know that'll just start a massive grease fire and destroy the chicken. So I'm going to be doing the rest of the grilling with the lid open. A few minutes later, and I'm just checking the chicken to see how the char is looking, and then I'll flip it back over if I'm not happy with it. Also notice that the amount of fire is starting to increase under the chicken, and that's more of the drippings that are catching on fire. So I'm fast forwarding just to move things along. Look at that chicken in the middle. That's exactly what you want it to look like. A nice little char, nice little crust, but not burnt. So I checked the temperature of that small one in the middle, and it's up to 170, so that one comes off. And then I'm checking some other ones in the middle as well because that's the hottest part of the grill. And I'll just keep checking temperature and rotating, trying to get that char. Also notice the fire is really flaming up there. I don't want the chicken to be right over that hot fire because it'll burn the outside. So I kind of rotate the chicken around and try to keep it away from there. Speeding up even more, I only have 4 pieces left, and I'm just taking those off one at a time as needed. There's always going to be one straggler, but I'll just be patient until that one's done too.
So after almost 2 hours outside grilling, the chicken is ready. And boy, does it look good. So now it's time to do a taste test.
Notice how the meat is so tender that a huge piece just falls right off. No complaints here. It is super good.
Tastes so good, make you want to slap your mama.
Oh, it's so tender, and the flavor from the dry rub is just amazing. And you can also get hints of the vinegar and the mustard and the liquid smoke from the wet mop. Yeah, it's just amazing. And that habanero pepper, it hits different. It's really a nice spice level for me. For a lot of people, maybe the cayenne pepper is enough for you. I'm not saying you should use habanero pepper the first time. Just try it with cayenne, see how it is, get a sense of it, and then you can always do different peppers in the future if you want to. So this is a super recipe. I really hope you share it with your friends and your loved ones. Make it at home. And thanks for watching.